Welcome back to Betamovie Repair. This is part 3. If you made it through part 2, congratulations. You're stronger than I am. Anyway, so in part 2, we did the IR filter element, which is already back in the camera. It's taken me a while to get this camera back to where I want it, and I ran into some other problems. So unfortunately, I don't have a video of the IR filter issue, or not issue, the IR filter reinstallation, so to speak. Anyway, I did run into another problem, which the owner told me about when he sent the camera to me. He had mentioned that there was an issue with the, like if you were shooting in a bright sunny day, the image would just get washed out. Like it couldn't clamp down on the aperture to not wash out the picture. And sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't. So I think I found the issue, and the issue ended up being, not to get too into this, I guess, but the iris motor. So here's your lens assembly. This is actually the lens assembly from the camera that I was sent. The reason why that is, I'll get into here. This here is your iris motor. So that has a little lever on it that controls the aperture of the lens. And then what happened was, not only did this little sticker, this white sticker, peel up on both sides, which was impeding the movement of the arm a little bit. I thought that's what it might be, so I carefully glued the area back down that was rubbing, and I tried it again. That did nothing. I actually grabbed this BMC 220 unit, which has, of course, an iris motor on it. Let me move 1 second here. No place to work, you know. Yeah. So here is the iris assembly for the BMC 220. Unfortunately, the mounting's wrong, so it won't swap into the CCD models. However, I was able to take the connection here and run it into the 660 in place of the original iris motor, and it worked fine. So obviously the motor was bad. Now, of course, you'd think, well, you know, we'll just swap the motor over, and of course that's the first thing I tried to do. However, even with the correct screwdriver, the screws will not budge. They must have locked them in there with some adhesive, and I was putting so much downward pressure on those, trying to break them free, I figured I was going to break the lens assembly. So I took my part 660 that had a good assembly on it, and I swapped it over. I also swapped with it, I kept the autofocus boards with their respective assemblies, because of course there could be differences in the adjustments and tolerances. That could be a pain to adjust, and everything was in the same condition as this was, so I figured, you know what, we'll just move it over. But of course that requires a few more adjustments, which we will get into. Before that, I do want to mention, I think I brought it up before, the autofocus unit. And let me grab that lens assembly again. So you've got your iris motor here. On the flip side, underneath, behind the autofocus board here, is your zoom motor. Now the zoom motor does not have a belt on it. I thought it did, but it doesn't. It's the 220. It's the 220 and the 100, the 110, I mean, that have the belt on the zoom. So here's a 220 again, and right here, right there is your zoom belt. I don't know the size on that one, but that's about, it's not that small in diameter, so you should be able to find a belt that'll fit that. So in all of these autofocus models, this is your autofocus motor, and there is a little gear driven assembly on here, and I'll keep moving this thing and then I need it back. So your palm grip is this here. This covers it up. That's the little red window on the front for the autofocus, and the autofocus motor mounts in this little bracket up here. and how it mounts. It can only mount one of the 180 degrees either way, which is also important that when you take it apart, you can see I have a Sharpie mark here. I mark the clocking of this gear train here to make sure I can get it back. Otherwise, when you screw it in, you might do it backwards and you'll have this wire in the way or it won't reach. So anyway, what goes wrong with these typically is this tiny little belt on the back here. There's a miniature belt that is really hard to find a substitute for because it wasn't listed as a part. There is no belt listed anywhere for this. This was an assembly. So you have to come up with your own solution. And I've tried dental bands and, you know, all kinds of odds and ends. And I never found anything that worked well. And the reason for that is everything's just too thick and it impedes the motor rotation, and then it doesn't autofocus, or it gives up. It tries to hunt. It can't get where it cannot get to where it wants to go, and it just gives up. However, I finally did find a solution, and I hope this helps other people. There is a company called Esslinger & Co. and Esslinger.com. And what these are, they are various sized watch back seals. So for wristwatches, and they have a million different sizes of you know, weather seals. And they're just tiny little O-rings, and you can get them in these tiny sizes. And the one that I've been using for Betamovie is the 50-1000. And I think for like $3 or $4, you get 3 of them in a pack. And so there you go. There's the size there. I believe that's, I think it's in millimeters maybe. I don't know. Anyway, but it's the 50-1000 that I've used successfully in the BMC 220 and the 550, 660. And I guess that's it, because the 1000 GCS1 are manual. So anyway, there's that. And I wanted to mention something else about the drive belts. So if you go to PRB Line or Russell Industries in New York, you can call them, and I'll add the website to the comments or to the description. And they actually have a listing for the BMC 660 in their old catalog, and they have the 550, I think, and the 220 and the 110 and all that. So when you order that, this is what they'll send you. They'll send you this SCX 2.6 and FRY 6.7, FRZ 5.7, FRW 7.0. The 6.7 I found that, where does that go? I think that goes, it involves the capstan. I think it goes from the like step down pulley assembly to the actual capstan flywheel. And it's too tight, and I think it's too wide. So I actually, and when I installed it, it caused a slowdown of the capstan motor, which caused like a, you know, rolling snow, like when the capstan servo's out of whack. So I ended up getting 2 of these FRW 7.0, and I used a 7.0 in place of that 6.7, and that worked really well. So there you go. So those are the belts that these should work in the 550, 660, and the 220, and even the 110. I believe, from my experience, it's all the same mechanical chassis. They just change the electronics around it. So hopefully that helps as well. So anyway, I figured since this is open, it would be a good time to just show what the camera does when it's functioning, in case you need to troubleshoot it. So this is what a working Betamovie should do when a tape is inserted. This is only when a tape is inserted. If there's no tape, it won't do anything. You should hear the drum spin up, and then you'll hear it, I believe it's unpinching the pinch roller. And that should show you that it's ready to go. It rolls the tape for a second or two, and then you're ready to record. So, since I swapped this assembly, I thought it only best to make sure that the back focus was adjusted properly, because there could be tolerance differences and things like that. So to do it right, I set up to adjust the back focus. So that's a little involved, and there is a catch, unfortunately. With some of these adjustments, you need special equipment that isn't easily obtained anymore. So this is the lens block adjustment. This is the back focus adjustment procedure. You need a Siemens star, which if you buy an original Sony service manual, they're sometimes still in a pocket in the back. And so you'll have to light that, and you place that exactly 2 meters away from the reference mark on the camera body, which shows you the CCD sensor surface. And then once that's done, you make these adjustments here. But the thing is, you need to get video out of the Betamovie, which isn't such an easy task because it is not a standard NTSC or PAL camera. It has no video out. So the only way to get video out from it is to use what Sony got offered to service centers, was their signal converter unit. And this connects through all these various connections here, and it interprets those connections into a composite video output. So it connects, you can see it here, it connects to the video head and the audio. You can actually kind of play back a test tape to do tape path alignments. I've never had to do that. I don't really, I have test tapes, but I've never really had to deal with that. Nor have I really wanted to get into checking it. They all seem to record okay, so if it ain't broken, don't fix it with some of these things. So anyway, so I have it tied into the certain video test points at once here, according to the service manual. So if we use the little RM81 here to fire up the camera, I have a little board here that converts the composite signal into an XY signal for the scope here. So as it synchronizes, you should see an image from the camera. Takes a few seconds. Okay, so there it's zoomed out at the moment. So we'll pull it in here, and there is our Siemens star. So you'll have to excuse me because I am renovating some things, but so this is what we're looking at. This is a pattern plate in a Sencor video reference unit. It should be upright, but at the moment this is the only place I have to set it up that's the correct distance from the camera. So anyway, we have the camera set the correct distance. They want 2 meters, and we've got it focused in here on the screen. And then we'll use these adjustments. So here is the hex screw is the locking adjustment for the lock for the adjustment to hold it. And you loosen that, and then the flat blade brass screw here is the actual back focus adjustment, and that will kind of rack the rear element back and forth until it's happy and focused at the proper settings. Now, if you don't have a way to get video out of the camera, I would never ever touch that, because if you do, there's really no way to get it back where it needs to be, because you don't have any video reference to know that you're focused or not. You'd have to record and then take the tape out, put it in a VCR, check it, go back, adjust it again, take it out, put it in a VCR, check it. I mean, you'd probably wear out the camera by the time you got that into adjustment. But anyway, so this boring part's already done. Everything's good. Back focus is good. It really wasn't that far off, but I wanted to be sure. So anyway, we can shut the camera off here, turn that down. And that's about all there is to it. Told you there was a catch though, because you need all this special stuff to do that adjustment. There's a few other adjustments like that as well, but you can do things like color adjustments and autofocus adjustments and things without the special converter. You will need an oscilloscope for those kinds of things. May as well eject the tape to show that process too while it's working. So all it does is it's going to unthread, and when it gets all the way to the end of the unthreading mode, it knocks the little catch to release the door. That's about all there is to it. Well, I hope this is of some use to somebody. Pretty unique information, I think. I don't know how many people are servicing old camcorders, let alone these very specialized units. But anyway, thanks for watching. See you next time.